Man on the Moon interview with Chris Cole and his dad, Mitch Cole.
No, wait, Dad.
Start talking.
Now?
Yeah, my name is...
Okay. My name is Chris Cole.
Bigger than loud voice, right into the camera.
Did we start?
Go ahead.
Let me stop.
What's your name?
Chris Cole.
And who am I?
Dad.
My name is Mitch Cole, and I'm Chris's dad. And we're going to talk about the first moon landing in 1969, Apollo 11. And I have a Life magazine from that time that I kept all these years. And this has either Buzz Aldrin or Neil Armstrong, the two men that actually walked on the moon. And you can actually see in their faceplate a reflection of the moon and what goes on in the moon. Did you want to ask me some questions, Chris?
Okay. What year was it?
It was in 1969 that man first actually walked on the moon. That was Apollo 11.
Okay. Was it on TV?
Yeah, it was on TV, and we got to watch...
That's the next question.
Go ahead.
Did you watch it?
Yes, I did watch it. It went on for 3 days. We didn't have a color TV. My grandmother did. So, come on, you want to hear my explanation?
Yeah, fine.
All right, well, we didn't have a color. My grandmother had a color TV, so I asked if I could. I was very interested in the space program, so I went to my grandmother's house for 3 days from the time that the Apollo 11 took off at Kennedy Space Center until the time it got to the moon 3 days later. I was watching TV most of the time because it was on TV the whole time. It was very exciting for people to first land on the moon. And when they got there, Neil Armstrong made a famous quote.
Did you know there's many more questions to come?
That's all right. He said, "There's one small step for a man,
that's good.
One giant leap for mankind." This is, I don't know if you can see it. These are some of the black and white images.
Oh, wow.
And this is him stepping out of the LEM, that's the Lunar Excursion Module, to walk on the moon.
That guy's got hair.
Okay, do you want to ask me a question?
Did more than one person go to the moon?
Yeah, on Apollo 11 there were 3 people that got to the moon, but only 2 people got to walk on it. Because the way it worked was, the spaceship that went to the moon orbited the moon. Michael Collins was driving the spaceship. Then, from the moon, a Lunar Excursion Module, this is it right here, left. This little craft was attached to the cone, to the ship. And it actually left the ship as the ship was circling the moon with Michael Collins driving. Buzz Aldrin and Neil Armstrong went down to the planet and landed. And then those two actually walked on the moon. And they collected samples too, which they brought back.
Who was the person that got on the moon?
There were 2 people that walked on the moon. Buzz Aldrin and Neil Armstrong. Buzz Aldrin was in good shape. Now here's a picture of Buzz Aldrin pole vaulting over some kind of a wire there. He actually sprung himself over. They were all in their middle ages, in their 40s. But they were all jet pilots and trained in the space program. Very strong. I know, we're going to talk about this.
Okay.
This is Neil Armstrong.
Wow.
Most people remember the name Neil Armstrong. And he was like to barbecue and he liked to fish and he was a real sportsman. And Michael Collins was the person that drove the spaceship that circled the moon. Okay, next question.
Did they know they had to wear certain kinds of gear?
They knew that they had to, in order to survive on the moon, where there's no air to breathe, they had to bring their own air, so that was in an oxygen tank on their backs. And another thing is, not only is there no air, but the moon, in the sun, it's 200 degrees. So you cook a lot of things in the oven, even less than that. So it'd be very hot on the moon in the sun, and when you get in the shade, you can go to 200 degrees below zero. So you'd either fry or freeze like a popsicle. So you definitely need to bring your own spacesuit, which is your own environment.
What vehicle did they use to get there?
The Apollo 11 spacecraft, along with the LEM, the Lunar Excursion Module, traveled 250,000 miles in space to reach the moon from the Earth.
Okay, and how old was he?
I don't have their ages, like I say. I think they were in their 40s. Here's a nice
And
picture.
how old were you?
I was 17 when they did that in 1969.
85? Wow.
Okay. Here's a nice picture of Buzz Aldrin walking on the moon. If you can see it clearly, you can see the moon is very textured. And they kicked up a lot of dust as they were walking along the moon, and their feet would sink down into it, leaving a lot of footprints. And those footprints will still be there today. Because on the moon you don't have rain and snow and wind, so everything stays the same way for thousands of years.
And,
Okay?
but did I ask you how old were you?
I was 17.
Okay. That's it.
All right, and that was our talk about man on the moon. And here's a footprint, the first footprint on the moon.
Oh, wow.
And this has been an interview that I
You
liked.
gotta zoom.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Can I have a Go-Gurt? Dad.
Because you had enough Go-Gurts today.
Can I have cheese stick?